Yar, folks, welcome. This is episode 20 of Kopit Lodges Fracking Show from beautiful downtown Elsipogtog First Nation. It's a Mi'kmaq territory in New Brunswick. And uh, yeah, Kopit in Mi'kmaq means beaver. And the motto here is protect the water. This is certainly the whole epicenter of the province-wide anti-fracking movement here. Plus, everybody remembers the nasty RCMP raid of October 17th. So stay tuned. We're going to give you more info on what our plan. We're having a huge event here, and we'll be live all day long. And on this Friday, October 17th. And I'm just going to mute my camera to you. It won't affect the stream there. And tonight, we got Varushka Franceschi. You are I'm going to cut to you in a sec. And you are live from New York City now, or where you at? Welcome.
Hi. I'm actually from Callicoon, upstate New York, right on the border of Pennsylvania.
Nice. I'm just doing the tech setup. Okay. Well, we've invited Varushka here as a fellow filmmaker. She's got a brand new dramatic feature film in the works. She's in the middle of shooting it, called A Crack in Everything. And yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself, Varushka.
Well, I grew up in the Foreign Service. My father was a diplomat, and we lived all over the world. We lived in Japan, East Africa, all over Europe. We traveled, I guess, every 2 years, and we moved a lot. So my background is pretty crazy and eclectic. And I did spend probably most of the time growing up in Europe. So I speak quite a few different languages, but I was exposed to a lot of different cultures, and it really helped me to keep an open mind. So I found myself in New York, and I lived in New York City for a long time, and I've just recently moved up to upstate New York, which is where I am now.
Nice. And tell us a little bit about the genesis of your film, A Crack in Everything. It's a narrative film.
Yes, it is. It's a narrative film. It's an eco-thriller, actually. And how it came about is about 3 years ago, my father got sick and was in the hospital, and I spent the last few days with him, watched him take his last breath. And I think when you lose your second parent, I had lost my mother a long time before, it really hits you in a different way. It's almost like you realize that you're very mortal, and that you have a limited time here. And so I just felt that I wanted to understand what my legacy was going to be. And it was interesting because shortly after, in the space of a week, about 3 people started talking to me about fracking. Now, I had not heard about fracking before. And one of those people invited me to help them on a project that it was actually an anti-fracking ad campaign for a nonprofit organization. And, because I'm sure you're aware of the amount of money that the gas industry spends on very slick ads to make everybody believe that natural gas is so good for us, and it's natural. And so I was very passionate about what I was learning. I mean, I was beginning to learn a little bit more. Of course, I didn't know anything about it at all. So I started researching by going into Pennsylvania. And I hadn't been in Pennsylvania for a long time. So the communities that I went into, I guess the way I should put it is that I spent the first 2 weeks in Pennsylvania crying hysterically. I mean, like just sobbing at what I was seeing, because it just really hit me really hard that I didn't know. I mean, because I hadn't been traveling around, since my dad had been ill. I mean, I hadn't been traveling around, and hadn't been to Pennsylvania in a long time, and seeing towns turned into like basically toxic wasteland. I mean, I got out of the car in one town, and there was a farmer who was helping to show me around. And I swear to God, I got out of the vehicle and I almost passed out from the smell and from just it was just such a stench of chemicals and benzene, I would imagine. And I looked at her and I said, "Oh my God, what is that smell?" And she said, "What smell?" She didn't smell it anymore. And, you know, the smell or the toxic fumes that are in the air are just as bad as what's in the water as well. I mean, I think that a lot of people don't realize that it's not just the water. So anyway, everything that I was learning just, I just couldn't, it was like the Twilight Zone. I mean, for me, I felt like I was really in a horrible episode of the Twilight Zone, or a nightmare that I couldn't get out of. And I just couldn't believe that this was happening, you know, to people, that people were getting rashes all over their body. I mean, even some of these people that I met with had been staunch Republicans for all their life, and, you know, really believed in, you know, what people told them. And of course, the landman came in and told them a whole line of bullshit about what was going to happen once they signed a lease. And everybody thought, wow, you know, this is great. You know, this is a great way to make some money. We're going to make all this money from leasing our land. And in the meantime, you know, no one told them what was really going to happen, you know, in terms of the kinds of sacrifices that they were going to be forced to make. It wasn't even a matter of like asking them if they wanted to make any sacrifices. They forced them to make sacrifices, you know.
They signed their everything away. Property values go down when they start fracking. Yeah, we always talk about the water. We've done numerous shows on this fracking show here about water. That the most surprising thing about water, let's not forget the air as well, but the water is finite. People forget that water is finite. We've had the same amount of water on this planet since time immemorial. So the amount of fracking, the amount of water that they need for fracking, and the fracking wastewater, yeah, we've talked about that numerous times. Each well pad could do anywhere from 7 to 12 fracks before it's done. Each frack requires anywhere from 3 to 12 million gallons of superheated water with anywhere from 600 to 1,000 nasty chemicals. And what do you do with that frack wastewater? There's so many deadly things in there, and there's not a lot of science, but what science there is with the frack wastewater, it would take Mother Nature, if left untreated, over 1,000 years. So that you were taking so much water out of the equation. Property values go down, the air is destroyed, animals die, people die. It's like, yeah, and people need to be told of the truth. Go ahead.
Well,
Continue.
exactly. No, that's true. And the thing is that it's, in a sense, it's like a Holocaust. I mean, you know, because a lot of the areas that are being fracked without people really understanding, you know, before they went ahead and signed the leases, you know, these people didn't really understand what was going to happen. So, you know, the fact that they're poor or not necessarily, you know, able to afford an attorney makes them even more vulnerable, because it becomes this, you know, thing where those areas, and especially like areas that are incredibly poor, like in West Virginia and in, you know, North Dakota and other areas, it's just such a devastation, I think, for the people, because they think, you know, they're being duped. You know, they're thinking that, okay, well, this is going to bring jobs, you know, and there's this whole thing about jobs, you know, and meanwhile, that's a total lie.
An investment that's going to bring this, and yeah, it's all a whitewash.
Yeah. And so when the reality is that we could actually create a lot more jobs in renewables, and that we don't have to sacrifice anyone's health or anyone's life, or, you know, the connection. And this is another thing that a lot of people don't realize is the connection between the release of methane, which occurs in the fracking practice, and global warming and climate change. So, all in all, I mean, and then also, of course, the radiation too. So anyway, so getting back to why, the genesis of this film, what I realized was that I just couldn't just not do anything after what I'd seen. It's sort of like, what is that saying? Once you know something, you can't unknow it, and I just couldn't just, sit around and not get active. And for me, getting active was writing a story. And actually, in a sense, I feel like it wasn't even, just the story came to me really easily because it was based on a lot of the stories of people's stories that I had heard, but also it came in the format of this thriller that was in my mind. And so I wrote the story, and I've been working on this now. I was researching, I guess, for the past 3 years. So it's been totally a labor of love and passion, because there's not as much support for women filmmakers. I don't know if you're familiar with the statistic. 5% of directors that are out there are women. 28% of speaking roles are women. I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, how are we supposed to live in a balanced world when so few stories that we see in the mainstream, film world are just not, it's just not balanced. And anyway, so I find that in the activist movement in the fracking world, so many warriors, and I call them warriors because I really believe they are women. And I can understand that because so many are mothers, and they're just passionate about what is going on and what we're leaving for our generations to come, for our children and their children's children. And the whole philosophy of, the seventh generation, thinking about living our lives today, thinking about the seventh generation, is one that I think is so crucial. We have a responsibility. Each one of us has a responsibility to live our lives in that way. So anyway, I take that responsibility very seriously. So the way that I can contribute is by making a movie. And that's basically how this came to be.
So your film is called A Crack in Everything, and it's a crowdsourcing. You had a successful Kickstarter one last year, and you're right in the middle of a new one. Talk about going the crowd. As a fellow filmmaker, enough of our audience knows I'm a documentary filmmaker. And tell us about the decision to go the crowdsourcing way versus the traditional way of financing films, because it's a new thing for us indie filmmakers, and more filmmakers are exploring the whole crowdsourcing. So talk about that genesis.
Well, I think it's fantastic, and I think it's going to be it's going to grow even more from here, and I think it's going to be the future of making films or raising money for films. And I really love it. I love the idea of interacting early on with your audience, and having them participate or be able to participate in the genesis of a project. That to me is, I know you and I talked a little bit earlier about interaction and interactivity, and I think that that's one of the most exciting things about the internet. And I actually also worked in the internet world a little bit, so I know a little bit about that. And I just feel that it was the best way to go for this project, because I didn't want to be beholden to anybody that was going to be putting money in and saying, okay, well, you're going to have to go in this direction because, we've got pressures from this corporation and that corporation. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people or a lot of investors in Hollywood, for example, they have their hands tied in a lot of ways, and they're not able to make the kinds of creative decisions that you could make as a filmmaker if you went this route. And since this is such an important topic, and I want to make a film that's as close to real, the real stories that I've heard, this I think is the best way. So that's why I've gone this route. It's also a challenging route because, as I mentioned before, I'm a woman, and there's not a whole lot of, I guess people aren't necessarily used to a lot of women out there directing, and so it's a little bit of a challenge, but I really think it's going to revolutionize the way that people raise money from film projects, and actually for music projects as well. So
yeah, that was a very successful model in the 90s in terms of the rock and roll music industry. A lot of bands really took off just because of the internet and not dealing with the record companies, which is the same thing as us filmmakers dealing with Hollywood. I always thought that film should be a lot more like rock and roll, for lack of a better way of putting it, in terms of the way they promote things and the way it's crowdsourced, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, and it's catching on in the film world more and more. It's not just in the crowdsourcing, but also distribution. I mean, it's early on. You're in pre-production right now, correct? And you're about to shoot. Tell us about some of the locations.
Okay, sure. Yeah, we're in pre-production. We are going to be shooting in upstate New York, beautiful areas of upstate New York near the Pennsylvania border. So many amazing places up here. And it's actually one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this subject, because I want to try to protect the beauty of just the incredible beauty of New York. Of course, we're so close to Pennsylvania. I mean, I think I want to protect Pennsylvania as well if I can, but obviously, I'm not that far. But and some of the other locations include Morocco, interestingly enough. Pennsylvania, we're going to be shooting in Pennsylvania as well. So
nice. And tell us who's in the film and some of your crew members. Shout out to them. We filmmakers. Unlike most other art forms where a playwright has an author, in film, yes, we writer directors, we are said author, but we got to give shout outs to a lot of your crew members and some of your actors. You want to do that now?
Sure. I'm so blessed, and as you mentioned, film is such a collaborative process. So you can't make a movie make a movie by yourself, just with one person. So I'm so blessed to have some amazing actors, and the team is just amazing. That we're actually still casting for some roles. But we have Alessandro Toveggio, who's a French-Italian actor, and Mohamed Kissi, who's actually very well known in Morocco. He's worked a lot with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and Elizabeth Kemp, who's been with the Actors Studio for many years, Nicole Ansari, and we also have an award-winning composer, Richard Horowitz, who I'm just thrilled to have on board because his music is so sacred. It's just incredible music, and he won a Golden Globe for Sheltering Sky, and
Bertolucci's film.
Bertolucci's film, which was actually shot in North Africa. Beautiful film with John Malkovich and Deborah Winger. So I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude at just the talent of these actors. Regan Leonard, I should say, because that's how she pronounces her name, and her daughter Jessie Bongiorno, both of them are just exquisite actors, and so yeah, so I'm just really excited because it's a special group of people. So yeah, so we're in pre-production, but we still have to raise the rest of the money that we need on Kickstarter for this round, and we only have 4 days left, so it's a little bit nail biting time.
Yeah, and we will talk a little bit more about that. I want to and your credits in the film. In addition to writer producer, you're also starring in. And what are some of your other credits in this film?
You mean some of the other actors?
Your role in this as
Oh,
writer.
I'm sorry. Yes. Oh, goodness. I feel like, it's like everything. So I am the creator of the project, the director, I'm a producer, writer, actor, and pretty much everything.
And chief
But
bottle washer.
yeah, I'm the coffee maker. I'm the everything. It's as I said, it's a labor of love. So I think it's whatever's necessary to do. I'm doing, and yeah, it's interesting to be in that position. But I'm very inspired. So I don't know. I think that Lena Dunham, who I think is actually a big inspiration to me, really sort of set the bar in a way. I mean, she's done something similar. I mean, she also does the same thing. She writes, directs, produces, and acts. And I think when you're a creative artist, you really might have one particular medium might be your main thing. But I think if you're an artist, you're an artist. It just you make it happen. I'm trying to make this happen. So whatever I need to do, I'll do.
Yes, and about your Kickstarter, because there's 4 days left in that. Tell us some of the incentives in the. I love the incentives of the indie film Kickstarter programs. Talk about that.
You mean like the reward? Some of the rewards?
Yes, yes.
Oh my goodness, we have some great rewards. I mean, we have one of the people that is actually going to be working with us, who's absolutely brilliant. Her name is Brandy Marola, and she creates these really beautiful miniature sculpture pieces. They're sort of like made of these vintage things that she finds, and they tell a story. And we have one of these pieces that she's donated, of a little girl. It's a doll, but she turned it into this beautiful piece. And what she sees in the bathroom, which is when she turns on the faucet, it's on fire. Anyway, it's an absolutely exquisite piece, and her work is really amazing. And I'm actually going to be using some of her work in the film as well. So that's one of the rewards. We also have some rewards that include, a copy of the film. We're thinking of adding a reward that would involve live streaming from the set. So I think that would be interesting. But we also have yoga lessons. I've taught yoga and practiced yoga my whole life. So I will be giving some yoga lessons. We have Italian lessons, and we have quite a wide array of things. So people should check it out, because I think there's some really fun rewards too, including dinner with me.
Nice. I always love some of the rewards on some of these Kickstarter, for X amount of dollars, a walk-in role.
Yes, we do. Actually, we have a walk-in role. We have one of the rewards is actually a speaking part in the movie. And so, yeah, there's some very juicy rewards, I should say.
A signed poster. Yeah, I love some of the unique and like you said, the whole interaction with your audience early on. there's a Chinese Icelandic film of all things. I'm originally from Iceland, my adopted homeland. And there's a film called This is Santillion, and it was shot totally clandestinely in Beijing, of all things, without location permits and stuff, and it was really guerrilla style. But they not only had really good crowdsourcing, but regular followers, update. They were using Twitter. Yeah, and yeah, my browser is frozen there. Fuzzit says, Yardi, can you post a URL about your crowdsourcing?
Sure.
Unfortunately, my browser's been acting up, and I can't restart this computer if Fred 109 is on. Fuzzit, just Google a Cracking Everything Kickstarter. And it's the photography and shooting one. If you can quickly do that, I'd be greatly appreciated and stuff. And thank you there, Fuzzit. And yeah, so great interactivity on with the audience, and filmmakers need to explore this more. I I like your idea of live streaming. I've taught many filmmakers. I come from film academia in Toronto, and I've been trying to get filmmakers. Some of them are in Hollywood. There it is. Thank you there, Fuzzit. Yar. So that's the link, and there's 4 days left. And I love interactivity. See, isn't this beautiful there?
It's great.
And so yeah, live streaming from sets. I've talked to different because they don't get it. Really, they don't. I okay. I say to a lot of people about live streaming, and I being a filmmaker, you being a filmmaker, is don't bring a lot of baggage to it. It's not film. This is film EMC squared live streaming, right? It's state-of-the-art filmmaking, space age filmmaking. It's all about interactivity. If you look at it another way, never in the history of humanity have we had an art form where um, at the moment we're producing it, we're interacting with our audience at the same time. There's also the archival thing, but that's another thing. But the act of creating it, and for the audience as well, they've never had a medium that at the moment it's being created, it's they're interacting with it, or because I have a fellow filmmaker here on screen, what I tell my filmmaker friends, okay, look at it this way: the difference between film and live stream. Because I want to get into live streaming from your set, and I have some ideas. Is okay if the usually when I come from the experimental film community, and I've chosen the anthropological documentary genre to experiment in. So I'm assuming that us filmmakers, we're doing the whole thing ourselves, right? So with that said, if the act of shooting a film is a private act, and if the act of editing that film is a private act, and only when you're finished is it a public entity, well, the act of creating live stream, you're not only shooting and editing at the same time, quote unquote, but you're also exhibiting at the same time. And that is a public act. That's what a lot of filmmakers can't. It's really hard to get their head around. So there's different ways you could live stream from a set. It's not one of those where okay, every shooting day, everything that goes on, someone's live streaming. No, it's not about that. It's a combination of, for example, someone could be at home anywhere. They could be in Sydney and doing your live stream there, right? Where they're talking about things and you have someone on set, with an iPhone or a camera with a cube on top, and, they're cutting back and forth between that, and maybe schedule some discussions with your actors at a certain point, and a lot of the people who are involved in crowdsourcing, because this is a very smart interaction with your audience that no filmmakers ever explored. while you're creating it. You're doing that now with crowdsourcing. You're going to be doing that certainly with distribution and other regular distribution routes. And but this is really because right now the way for the indie film scene, you're getting with crowdsourcing, yes, you're getting your audience involved, and then at the end, you're getting the audience involved, which is great. But what they're missing out, what the rock and roll industry does, but only with Twitter and stuff, is you're getting involved in the whole shooting process, which is brand new. So there's different ways, and I'm totally here to help out. And Fuzz, I just want to read Fuzz's been saying stuff. The idea of live streaming is a great idea. Maybe consider live streaming right before theater opening. Oh, of course, that's another great idea, Fuzzy. And just make sure the chat channel is open. Of course, you need a live chat. Rise! Yeah, are we up on Global Rev there, Rise? Yeah, Rise PDX from Portland. That can't be the right URL. Yeah, that's it, Fuzzy. I was just going to talk about that was the first crowdsourcing last year. This is the new one. Okay, so thank you, Global Rev. We're live at Occupy Wall Street's Global Rev. Yarrrrrrr. My name is Dee Shanger. I'm a mod and live stream director here at Occupy Toronto. And as you all know, and on screen, we got Varushka Franceschi, who is doing a dramatic feature film on fracking. It's called The Crack in Everything. It's being shot in Pennsylvania, upstate New York, and Morocco. So any comments about live streaming? And it's rare. You're leading edge there, sister.
Well, I love that. I think that's why I'm surprised that not more people are not doing it. I think it's sort of like people are kind of dipping their toe a little bit in the water, but they're a little afraid because they're just not sure, But to me, I mean, I find this an incredible wonderland, the wonderland of interactivity and live streaming and crowdsourcing. It's just, to me, this is what's most exciting. And also because I think that right now, what we're dealing with is some pretty intense global crises. So we need to stay connected. I think that it's important for more so now than ever for people to get together. And I think that this medium, that you're also on the edge of, or the cutting edge of, is a very important medium in this period of time that we're living in. So, that's what I'm excited about. So, but then I think that, you can create things that are then, they have this sort of other life, and that's the thing I love about it.
Plus, this redefines EPKs. For those that don't know what EPK is, whenever they're shooting a Hollywood film, as part of the actor's contract, they're required to do EPKs, electronic press kits, where they, for the making of, and they're, sit down interview about stuff. And so this would totally redefine EPKs, and live stream, and really. It's all about interactivity. I know I talked to you briefly while we were doing the tech setup. By the way, Varushka is joining us from upstate New York. Where in upstate New York?
Callicoon.
Callicoon, yeah. And so in terms of the use of live stream, yeah, that would be the leading edge. I've talked to so many filmmakers. I've talked to so many people at TIFF, the Toronto Film Festival, and Toronto is the film festival capital of the world at 101 annual film festivals. In a distant second is Berlin at 50 something, right? And so you'd think in the film festival capital of the world, more live streaming would be done from festivals like Hot Docs, the largest audience attended documentary film festival. They're sort of doing it, but they're doing it wrong. TIFF, the world's #1 film festival, Toronto International Film Festival. Yeah, I don't know. But the thing is, it's all about interactivity. I've said this once, I've said this a million times, that live stream will be the most defining medium of the 21st century, just like cinema was the most defining medium of the 20th century. And the reason for that is cinema, people forget that we filmmakers on both sides of the screen here, we work in two mediums, right? Audio and visuals. And only in the final print do you, the audience, see it all. And that's because the number one artistic construct of the 20th century was multimedia. And with the jazz singer in 1927, we fueled the whole multimedia part. Well, fast forward to this century, you know, the number one artistic construct, certainly without a doubt, is going to be interactivity. And there's no better exponent of that than live stream. So the fact that you're using that for crowdsourcing, that's part of it. But like I said, you're missing the middle part of on set. And there's I got numerous ideas for you, and I'll totally help you out if you like. It's simple. I don't have to be there on set. You know, we can get someone else to do the actual on set things. But yeah, and you could schedule stuff, and you know, maybe you probably, because this is your second Kickstarter, maybe do a third one, and we'll include some live stream incentives, like when we're live streaming from the set. We'll Skype you in to the live streams.
Yes, yes. Well, you know, part of this story involves the thriller part is there's the death of a woman, and she's found by her daughter in the beginning of the movie. And the audience doesn't know really what caused her death. I mean, you know, we can guess what it has to do with, but we don't really find out exactly what happened to her until later. So there's a sort of element of mystery, and what I really liked the idea of is with the streaming from the set is by doing that, kind of giving people some clues, you know, as to what happened before the movie comes out, because I don't want people to know what happens later on. Obviously, you want to keep it a little bit under wraps. So that creates sort of an air of mystery. I mean, that's one part of it, but the other part, obviously, is that it's so fascinating to watch the creative process when a film is being made, because there's just so many things that go into it, and a lot of people don't understand that or realize that. So you know, there's that part of it, and then of course it's the ability for an outside person to interact and get involved. So.
We have someone that came all the way from Ottawa here at Kopit Lodge. He's an actor. Yeah, we're talking to a filmmaker, brother. Yar.
Cool.
Yar. Continue. Tell us more about your film there, Varushka.
No, I'm just excited because I think it's you know, there's just so many. Hi, how are you? Good.
I'm actually down here to do a production myself.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Tell the world your name.
It's a TV series called French production, like Clan, about drug dealing and mafia.
And you're the native drug dealer.
And I'm the native drug dealer, yeah. Yeah. And my name is Thomas Clare, by the way.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. And I'm actually originally from here. I live in Ottawa.
Nice.
Yar. Yes, Varushka is shooting a film about fracking. She's crowdsourcing it right now.
Okay.
Yar. Yar. Always a busy time here at Kopit Lodge. Yeah. Yar. So continue there, Varushka.
So yeah, it's just an exciting time, and you know, to be involved in this kind of work, in this medium.
As Rye said, they want to frack everything. Yeah, fracking is certainly the nastiest invention ever in human history. You know, there's something else up than fracking, because it's oil company based. You know, fracking is you know, certainly it costs more to get it out of the ground than what the market value is. You know, they say that in order for fracking to be profitable for that company, they need to have thousands and thousands of wells. And Pennsylvania is certainly Exhibit A of that. You know, and fracking is also Exhibit A of that. We're way beyond peak oil, and it's nasty to be investing in fracking when there's hardly any jobs produced from there, and that's the big number one push. You know, there's actually tons more jobs created from investing in renewable resources and giving out grants for stuff like that versus financing and subsidizing and giving tax breaks to oil companies. You know, some of the richest companies on earth. You know.
Well, yeah. No, I was just going to say, and, I almost was going to say, well, at what cost carbon? We're this carbon-based society, and, the whole addiction to fossil fuels is destroying us. And so, if people say, I hear it, to me, it's just insane that, the concept that people sometimes throw at you, which is like, well, we can't change because, this is the way that things are and the grid is set up this way and it'll be too expensive to change things and this and that. And to me, that's insane. So, okay, so if you're saying to me that it's better to kill ourselves over energy when we don't need to, that to me is the definition of insanity. Like, doing something over and over again and expecting a different result. Like we can't expect to continue down this road and have any of some kind of miracle happening to change the direction that things are headed. I mean, the ice is melting, and 99% of the climate scientists, or scientists, I shouldn't say climate scientists, but scientists agree that this is based on our activities as the human species. So what right do we have as a human species to cause the destruction, not just of our own species, but every other species? I mean, what is that? That's insane. I mean, that's just completely insane. And that's why, in a sense, the title of the movie, which is A Crack in Everything, is actually a reference to a Leonard Cohen song, with Anthem. I don't know if you're familiar with the song. But the lyrics that reference this title go, there's a crack in everything, but that's how the light gets in. So, that's a really important thing to understand, is that, yes, because it's not all doom and gloom. We shouldn't all like jump off a building and say, okay, well, let's all just, end it now because things are looking so bleak. I believe that with crisis comes opportunity. And we live in a time when and human beings can be extraordinary. So there's a call to all of us, I believe, to become extraordinary in these very challenging times that we are living in right now. We need to step up to the plate and become extraordinary. And what that, in my opinion, what I think that entails is that we all need to come together in ways that we've never come together before. This kind of medium, what you're creating here, is such a way that we can begin to figure out together how to move towards solutions, at least, that can help us. How can I put this? Because I feel like, changes are going to be happening anyway. I mean, we have changes that we can't stop, okay? But we can certainly make the best of what's going to be coming down the road, and we can at least work together to end certain practices that are making it worse, like fracking. I mean, fracking needs to be banned. It needs to be banned. If it's not banned, I mean, it's just insane, that the even, I mean, I don't know, the whole thing with this conversation about it being a bridge fuel is even more insane. I mean, when evidence is very clearly there that it's not a bridge fuel and it's a gangplank to disaster. So, I mean, and we're already in disaster. I mean, like, that's the whole thing, is that we're already in bad shape. But let's not get worse, you know? So let's start to work together, all of us, in all the different mediums. We're all, you know, we all have different gifts that we can give to, you know, each other and the future. As I said before, we believe that every single one of us that's alive right now has a responsibility, not just to ourselves and to our families, but to future generations. So what are we going to do together to make this shift into a way of life that can be sustainable for all of us? And it's going to take great thinking. It's going to take great thinkers, and they're already out there. There are already people that are coming up with solutions, and that to me is what's very exciting about this time that we're living in.
Now, this is the first time that Varushka is on live stream, so you want to pick some questions. Rise PDX has some questions for you, so you want to read them out and answer them.
Okay, let's see. Where's Rise PDX asks me, have I seen Biden's speech in Brazil in 2013? We should watch what he says about fracking to Brazil. No, I don't. I've never seen Biden's speech in Brazil in 2013, but I would like to know. I'm certainly sounds very interesting.
Here's a surprising one. Rise said earlier it was announced recently that fracking is now sending oil prices down due to competition. You know, we don't need to kill ourselves. You know, it's just insane. Yeah, we should start preparing now, as Rise was saying.
Yeah, because it's ridiculous to, you know, all these buzzwords, you know, isn't it so nice to hear all these really cool buzzwords? Oh, you know, fracking is sending oil prices down and blah, blah, blah. But what's the point of even talking about that if it's killing people? And it's, you know, destroying the environment, it's destroying the water supply, and it's just the whole thing is just out of control. And, you know, oh, and that's the other thing I wanted to say was that the other reference in the title to crack, okay, because it is like being addicted to such a severely destructive drug that the people that are addicted cannot see that, you see. They can't understand that. They don't, they're like, what are you talking about? You know, they're just so in their drug haze, you know. Anyone who knows anything about, you know, addiction understands this, that it's impossible for the person who's addicted to really see what's, you know, the truth of their addiction. You know, they have to step outside of themselves to see something, you know.
As well, in terms of fracking, you know, they come to your farm. You know, in a lot of countries, they come to your farm, they offer you, you know, 100,000 or 200,000. You don't know the actual risk that your property value is going to go down, your health's going to go down, your water's thing, and so at least in a lot of countries, they use smoke screens to fish you in to sign things. Did you know in Australia? Recently, I think it was last year, Australia signed a $40 billion gas deal with China with strict supply schedules, that if they don't meet those schedules, it's pretty nasty. So what they did in Australia, they called it coal seam gas, CSG. So in Australia, they just created a law that they don't need your consent. It is the worst country on earth that Australia is the driest continent on the planet. Water is very scarce, and we all know, people forget that water is finite. This most surprising thing that people don't understand about water, it's finite. Once you take out all that fracking wastewater out in the driest continent, it's absolutely insane. And I don't know, any comments about that?
Well, you know, but here's the thing, is that it's sort of like, to me, I mean, I don't know if you're familiar or if the people that are watching are familiar with Buckminster Fuller. Do you know who he was? Anyway, one of his quotes, which I love, is, and I'm probably going to screw up the quote completely, but something to the effect of, you don't change things by fighting the existing reality, but you change things by creating a new one. Okay. So I think that instead of sticking with, because I think the problem is that those people who are stuck in this do loop of, going down this road of addiction to fossil fuels, thinking that, well, we got to do this because we just have to. I mean, this is the way things are, and it's cheaper this way, and all this stuff that really doesn't make any sense. That they're so stuck in that, they're so stuck in this belief system that they don't realize that over here, where we have a world that we could be moving towards much faster, which by the way, we're already moving towards there, and so it is going to happen anyway. That we're going to move towards, being 100% renewable. But we really need to move faster. And so those people that are still stuck in that old paradigm aren't understanding that we have this other way of making money. So what is the point of talking about something being less expensive? It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't, because it's not less expensive. When you really look at the numbers, the truth of the matter is that it's actually much more expensive this way, because we're talking about, because it depends on what you're looking at. What do you mean by expensive? Human lives. So is it worth sacrificing human lives, the lives of animals, the water, as you said? Is it worth it? Is this really worth it? But for what? This is that's insane to me. This is what's insane. It's not as if, let's say we had no other choice. Okay, well, but I still think if we didn't have any other choice to get our energy needs met, we should still not do what is going on. But we have the choice. That's what's so incredible. The sun is the sun and wind and geothermal and all of that. These are all the answers to our energy, needs. And so that's what I feel. It's sort of like, I feel like we need, as, artists, we need to help shift the conversation. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, because you know what I'm saying? Like when people start to talk about something, it's like, we need to start talking about this in a different way. And when 500,000 people, because I think maybe it was even more, showed up in New York recently at the climate rally, that was a statement. Okay. And that was a very important statement, because people are beginning to wake up their own power, I believe. And the people that showed up at that rally in New York City, and of course there were other events going on all around the world, were so different from each other. People from all walks of life, people from different countries, people of all ages, races, shapes, sizes. It was just really amazing to see that many people understand that by showing up, they were expressing themselves, and empowering themselves, and expressing their own desire for a change. Because I think that people are really a lot more people than we even can imagine are beginning to realize that if we don't shift, there just isn't going to be a future. So that to me was really awe-inspiring and heartening to see that, and to understand that we have so many people that really want this shift. So,
I'm going to read a few questions from the live chat. There's a good discussion going on there. If you're watching this in the archives, I'll read the live chat. Rise PDX says, a lot of people are being fooled. That's the problem, skewed perceptions. Fuzzit says, people eat the fodder mainstream media feed them. That's why live stream is helping to change it. And Fuzzit continues, and who controls the MSN? Rise says, yeah. I heard CNN is firing a bunch of people that were willing, that were telling more truth. Can you see the clampdown? The same people saying we have to frack? Yeah, Bush and company. Any comments?
Oh gosh. That's true that there are a lot of people being fooled. That is very true. And of course, we are living in an Orwellian world. Okay, but we can change that by the kinds of things that you and I are doing, and by becoming more and more, how can we say it? How more active, even in what we're saying, standing up. I mean, I think Neil Young, I just saw Neil Young perform his new song, and I think it's called Stand Up. And, I really appreciate what he's doing, because I think that there's not that many celebrities when you think about in the percentage rise, because celebrities really do have a lot of influence on, young people and people in general. And, so celebrities certainly can help to shift things too. People in the entertainment world can help as well, and so it's their responsibility. And I think Neil Young is one of those people that is encouraging everyone to stand up, and not be afraid. And when Rise PDX says that a lot of people are being fooled, well, a lot of people are being fooled because they're drinking the Kool-Aid, and they're in a state of hypnosis in a sense. I think the word stupidity comes from the Latin words stupor. Stupore means to be in a stupor, where you're just in this, sort of, you just can't. Yeah, you're in a sleep-like state, and I think that's most of the people. That's most of the people that are really hypnotized by everything that's being thrown at them. There's just all this stuff that's constantly being thrown at them by the mainstream media or by other people, and it's all about fear. It's all about instilling fear in people, because if you get people afraid enough and in a stupor and just overwhelmed, so many people that I know are just too overwhelmed to even do anything. So rather than do anything, they just don't do anything. I mean, they don't do anything because it's just too much. They just can't handle it. And that's the other thing, is that there's also the issue of this insane this incredible overwhelm that most people are just experiencing right now. The beauty of technology.
Yeah, we're having this connectivity problem, and we're back, right? And Fuzzit has a question for you.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, we're back. So read Fuzzit's question to
Okay.
you.
Fuzzit asked the question: were you or did you ever approach the film industry to back your movie? When you say the film industry, I think that you probably mean people in Hollywood, or traditional, or more mainstream producers. And no, I never went to anybody, and no one ever approached me either. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a little concerned about necessarily getting the backing of people that are associated with Hollywood, because I don't know what kinds of pressures they might put on the creative content of the movie. And I want to get as close to telling a story that's compelling, but really really steeped in the truth, of what needs to be told. Because I think that there have been some projects that sort of, danced around the topic of fracking, but it was sort of like fracking light, and I'm just, I'm just very concerned about that. So I don't want to make a movie like that. I want to make a movie that's really going to shake people up in a sense, and shake people up in understanding that there's a human face to this tragedy. It's a tragedy. Okay, it is a tragedy what has happened and what is happening, what is continued to allow to happen. I mean, and it's such a large scale that it's just almost, it's almost too big to even comprehend for most people. But I think that's where, the power of storytelling in a movie can really shift people's hearts. I think we're kind of at that sort of point in time when, and this is something that I've learned from hanging out with my Indigenous friends, is that a lot of them, a lot of traditions believe that this time that we're living in now is very much about connecting the way that our intellect, okay, and our heart. So the way that we think and the way that we feel needs to be connected. And we need to come back to a connection with our heart, our hearts. In fact, there's a shaman in the movie, and he's actually a real shaman. His work is all about this. It's all about, and he wrote a book called Melting the Ice in the Heart of Man. And, he talks about he comes from Greenland, and his name is Anganak, and people call him Uncle. He talks about the fact that we cannot stop the physical melting of the ice. Okay, we cannot stop it at this moment, right now. But what we need to do is to focus on our hearts and really melting the ice that has surrounded our hearts. And when I talk about our hearts, I'm talking about our collective heart, in a sense, because that to me is what blows me away about people who don't have any connection with the practice of fracking, for example.
All righty, we're back. Shit happens, as we say a lot. There's no shame in going down. What is a shame is you don't know. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, there we go. The audio's good. There's no shame in going down, but what is a shame is you don't know that you're down. So we're back, and we're here with Varushka Franceschi from upstate New York, and she's got a new film on fracking, a narrative feature film called A Crack in Everything. And so continue. Varushka.
Well, I get really passionate about this because I feel that it is a time. I do agree with my Indigenous friends, and I do think that it is an opportunity, and it is a time that we need to connect more with our hearts. So I think there are a lot of different ways to do that. Certainly, one way is to begin to connect more with each other. And what was it? Fussett said, we're all connected, and this is true. We are all connected, but we don't. But a lot of people don't realize that. So, and one of the things that's great about LiveStream is that we can connect with people all around the world and interact in this way, right? But we also need to connect in real life too. So it's sort of like, we need that balance. So we have the balance of this amazing thing that we call technology that allows us the ability to communicate with each other, by seeing each other. We're seeing each other, but we're also communicating on chat, and we're also looking at each other's websites and all of that. But we also need the physical as well. And we need the physical connection with each other, in communion with each other, in community. That's going to help us, I think, in connecting with our hearts, but also connecting in with our intuition as well. I think people have lost touch with that the seed of their own intuition. And that's why they're so gripped with fear, because it's like they just listen to what a television set might tell them, or, what's being thrown at them constantly. When, that whole thing about when you repeat something often enough, it can become the truth to people, right? So repeat something over and over and over and over again, and people think it's the truth. Actually, that's what the gas industry did. What the gas industry did, and did such a good job at, was because they had so much money to throw at these ads, these slick ads that they're throwing down, stuffing down people's throats. They basically owned the airwaves, and they owned everything, the whole media, everywhere you looked, you saw, jobs, the natural, and the whole use of natural gas, to me, I'm still blown away. Like, it's such a media marketing, ploy, that they would talk about it in terms of natural. There's nothing natural about it. If it was natural, it would stay in the rock, in the shale rock, right? It's really so natural. Why are they using all these chemicals that they can't even disclose? They're not even willing to disclose that these, the corporations, they're just protected. They're protected entities at the moment. So, it's really a sad state of affairs. But nevertheless, we have power. Like, people have to realize that we all have power.
As an anthropological documentary filmmaker and as an anarchist archivist, this is not only Varushka's Franceschi, who's a filmmaker's first time live streaming, but she just signed up for her first ever username, Varushka, and her very first post ever, quote unquote, yes, we are all connected. It's always a zoo and a lively time here at the anti-fracking central here at Kopit Lodge.
It is, sorry.
That's okay. Yarr.
Hi.
Yarr.
Really?
Yarr.
Holy moly, can I use that?
Yeah, use it.
Look at that.
That's my bro.
Oh, very cool.
We're all connected.
For 25 pounds of silver, you could have took this poor boy out. I was born on a reservation in 1962. I was born before. Being Indian was cool. Something like that.
Yeah, clap, clap, clap from the world watching.
Oh, yeah.
Love it. That's great.
But you're a thespian, an actor.
An actor.
So if you're looking for actors,
There you go.
You got the job, baby.
Yarr. Yeah, that was an example of Varushka. As we live streamers, we love to turn on a dime, and yarr. So yeah, let's talk a little bit further about your film. If anybody's got Rise PDX from
healing, I guess.
By the way, Rise PDX from Portland says, "Do you have a fracking song?"
Do I have a fracking song?
No.
I think he said, does he have a fracking song?
Yeah.
Yeah.
no, I don't.
Wait for it.
Actors. The drama. The drama.
Almost. Something was brewing, and then somebody turned the stone
It just
off.
Exit stage left. Yarr. Let's continue talking about your film. Some more thoughts about your film, A Crack in Everything. It's a narrative feature film that's being crowdfunded right now. Tell us more.
Yeah, well, I really am really excited about this, and it's been a long journey for me. Goodness, I guess it's been 3 years now that I've been focused on doing this movie. So, from the whole concept of it when I was first in Pennsylvania, and one of the things that is really heartening, as I said before, was I am seeing some shifts in in the direction that I think people are starting to think differently. So, like with the climate rally, really inspired me. So the movie is just really kind of a part of that, a part of this growing movement of people that are understanding, realizing that that we all can do something. We all can be a part of this shift that is coming. It's happening anyway. I mean, but it's just would be great if it would be happening faster. So sure. Okay. When's the Rise PX asks when is the film targeted for completion? Well, we're hoping that we can complete the movie in time to get it into Sundance next year. So, well, the Sundance is in January, so obviously we're not going to get in Sundance 2015. But for Sundance 2016, submissions have to be made by September. So September 2015. So and we can have an early cut by then. So if we can get an early cut by then I will be submitting to Sundance. If not, then we'll be submitting to other film festivals. But so the targeted completion is around that time. So we have our work cut out for us. Okay. Fuzzit says, you used to go to Sundance when it was cabin and snowshoes. Park City rocks. Yes, it's beautiful. It's changed a bit, but it's still an amazing place. And certainly a great, vehicle. It's certainly a great way to get your movie out there. And I mean, I don't want to just make a movie and just not have it seen. My this movie scene.
Tell us a bit about your other films and your filmmaking history.
Well, I've worked mainly as an actor and a producer, Europe, and worked in Rome and London and Paris, in theater too. Actually, my training was in theater, and I lived in Paris for 4 years, and I also lived in London, worked in theater there, and and I'm trilingual. So one of the things, sort of jumping back into the movie, is that one of the things became evident for me was that I wanted to give this movie an international element. So the two sort of main characters are working for a French publication. France has banned fracking, which there are some countries that are smart enough to ban fracking, but not our country. But anyway, so there's an international element to this story, and we're also going to be shooting in Northern Africa too. So we have some interesting characters that show up there. It is an international conversation, but I think that the best way to reach more people is, by making it an international conversation. And it is, it is an international conversation. Okay, Fuzzit asks, have you met Velcro Ripper? I don't know. No, I haven't.
He's a filmmaker. He's an indie filmmaker. He helps out other filmmakers as well. He's from Toronto. He did Occupy Love, a film on that. He does sound and soundtracks for people. Yeah, he's got quite a following. Yeah, and Rise has a question. Maybe read it out.
Oh, okay. Rise PDX says, or asks, did you know that Chevron inked a multi-billion-dollar fracking deal with Ukraine in November 2013, before the revolution there? Yes, I was aware of that. And that's very disturbing, as is a lot of activity that has been going on always linked to some kind of fossil fuel or extreme extraction deals that we don't know about, until much later. So yeah, it's it's very disturbing.
That was a $10 billion deal they signed.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think that yeah, there's also right, PDX says, yeah, Victoria Nuland at State Department, it's very pro Chevron too. And Fussett says, and the Scotland vote was BS as well. CO. Yeah, it was BS. It was BS. Unfortunately, I've talked to a lot of people from Scotland, and it seemed like the popular feeling was, you know, that more people really wanted independence. So I guess you know, we'll have to see how things go. But you know, I think that we just have to begin to understand that we have to get together more. You know, we really do. We have to get together more in the groups. You know, I think that Uncle, the shaman I was talking about, mentioned something when I saw him last about, I can't remember how many environmental groups there are in this country, but he was saying that maybe it's 50 or something, I don't know, but it seems that all the environmental groups don't necessarily work together. And that's a shame. You know, I think that if we're all on the same page, you know, if we all understand that we are living at a time when it's a global crisis, you know, we're facing a global crisis, you know, with extreme droughts, extreme weather, extreme energy extraction that's wreaking havoc on the environment. You know, that it's sort of an emergency, you know, like we're sort of in an emergency situation. So it's not, you know, we can't necessarily operate in the same way that we did in the past. It's sort of like, you know, we have to think outside of the box. We can't keep going down the same road of trying to solve something, you know, on our own. So I think that these little entities that are kind of working by themselves to, you know, thinking that, okay, I'm going to just work on what I'm working on, and I'm working over here on what I'm working on. Everyone needs to come together somehow, you know, to be able to cause enough ripples that, because there's more of us. 99% thing. I mean, there's more of us. So why is it that we can't all get together? At least not this 99% of us, you know, and work together. You know, I mean, no, I know a lot of people are, but I'm just saying we need more of that.
Yeah, as Fuzz says, so many fragments are trying to decide the answer. You know, and there's a lot of loose cannons in the left. You know, we don't talk about that a lot. You know, it's part of the reason why. You know, in my parallel universe, I've been a union activist since 1980, and a union activist friend of mine, she always said, you know, it's sad to say, but it's easier to organize the right because they're all corrupt and money talks, right? And the left, you know, we're full of loose cannons, and it's so hard to organize, especially that, you know, you got to do it from the heart, and you know, you don't always have the funds. We in the union movement, of course, we do have the funds, and so much of what we have in our society, you know, is totally you know, because of unions, like healthcare and the education system and a lot of stuff. Yeah, but hopefully, you know, and what I found as well about the left, since we're talking about the left, you know, they have not yet embraced live stream in its full totality. Part of the reason is, for lack of a better way of putting it, they don't like the transparency of live stream. Plus, they don't understand it. As I said earlier in the show, the thing about live stream is too many people bring too much baggage to it. Live stream is a brand new medium. We've never had a medium. And really, live stream at the level that it's at now, as far as I'm concerned, we reached the Mach 1 of live stream about 3.5 years ago. By that I mean it was a dual thing where if we had the right software and the right connectivity, we could finally, for the first time, reach a live stream at 30 frames a second. And the dual part is if you then at that time, as the end user, had the right signal on the right computer, you could finally reach, you know, have it broadcast at 30 frames a second. So that's huge, right? And so a lot of people, they don't understand it. There's no books about how to live stream. There's no academia about it, and I come from academia, and um, like really the only place that you can really get trained on how to live stream is our Occupy Toronto weekly masterclass show on how to live stream. Shanger's How to Live Stream every Sunday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, you know, and we did episode 88 last week, and 89 is coming up, and yeah, there's not much live stream theory. I'm the only one that's, well, there's a few of us writing. They're all on the live chat, you know. Rise has written stuff. I've written stuff about live stream, but really, if we were to stop what we're doing, people have said to me, because I've been writing live stream theory mostly in my head and through Occupy Toronto after 4,800 streams, you know, like putting theory into practice like a mad scientist lab. But if I was to stop to write a book about live stream theory, I'd be out of the live stream world for at least 8 months to a year, and by the time I publish it, well, it's theory. You know, it might be out of date, but then again, it's theory. So really, the way we live streamers, because our modus operandi is we turn on a dime, as you just saw, and that really, you know, we're, well, certainly the live Occupy Toronto is the mad scientist lab of the live stream world. We have advanced the art, the science, the politics, the theory, certainly, you know, and our close association with Global Rev. I can't give too many shout outs to them. You know, thank you, Rise, thank you, Vlad, and Occupy Wall Street's live streaming mothership. You know, we've always worked like this. Today, on the exact 3rd anniversary of Occupy Toronto, and really what we call Occupy D-Day, when at the, you know, certainly the first Occupy was September 17, 2011 with Occupy Wall Street, but at the morning of Saturday, October 15th, 2011, there was maybe a couple dozen occupies, and by the end of that day there was over 1,000, and by the beginning of November there were 6,000 occupied cities and large municipalities on all continents. It's the world's greatest, most instantaneous worldwide movement, and that's why, you know, and that was half a year after the Mach 1 of live stream, and we've certainly gelled the whole role of civilian journalism. We are stiff competition to the mainstream media. There's a stat that I quote a lot, that in 2012, mainstream media lost about 35% market share to us civilian journalists, which always the live stream has always been the sword and shield of Occupy. The sword because it protects people on the ground from police violence and stuff because it's live, and the sword, that was the shield, and the sword is yeah, we use social media like no other, but when you have a main rally and main everything, or there's a main police action against your occupation, what do you Twitter, Facebook, social media everyone to but the live stream, because of all our senses, seeing is believing. It represents the ultimate truth. And any comments about any of that there, Varushka?
Oh, I think it's fantastic. The whole rise of citizen journalism is something that's really great. And you know, getting back to the climate rally, it didn't surprise me at all that it was barely covered or even mentioned in mainstream media. I mean, I kept tuning or whatever, looking at all the different sort of mainstream, you know, CNN and ABC and all these other ones, but it was just pathetic, really, because that was a historic moment in time. And so I think that people are getting the picture, you know, they're beginning to, there's a different kind of, because I was in New York, actually, I was in New York also for, I can't remember what year it was, but it was before we were going to, we're about to go into war, okay, in Iraq under Bush. And I can't remember if it was 2000 and, do you remember when that was? What year that was? I don't remember. But anyway, there was a call, and we had this rally that was going to happen by the United Nations, and all sorts of people were going to show up, including celebrities and Susan Sarandon and all sorts of people. And I was living at the time on the Upper East Side on 70th Street and like 2nd Avenue in New York. If anybody knows New York City, it's sort of closer to the, the east side of First Avenue. Like First Avenue was going to be the place that we were all going to walk down to get to the rally, right? So it happened to be a freezing day. I mean, it was really, really cold. So cold, you were just like, your nose would, was freezing. You had to kind of wrap yourself up. I think it may have been January or February. I don't remember. But I was with my boyfriend at the time, and we were trying to get down to the rally. But when we went to First Avenue, which was where we were supposed to be going, everything was stopped. I mean, I saw more people on the streets than I'd ever seen before then. At any time. It's an incredible amount of people. And they were all people, the same thing I was saying before, people of all different shapes and sizes, and, from all around the country, wanting to stop our action of going to war, right? We were showing up because we didn't want to go to war. And I think that it was a popular opinion that that people didn't want this. We didn't want this war, so the war in Iraq. But anyway, so we try to get somewhere, but the next thing I know, we were cordoned in and we couldn't even move. The police, there were so many police on the street that they cordoned everybody in and you couldn't even move. So people started to get upset. There was a little fight that broke out and everybody was like, what's going on? And they wouldn't let us go down to the rally. They basically, cordoned everybody off. And so we were all stuck on First Avenue. And so nobody got down, or very few people got down to the rally. And so when I went home to look at what the coverage was,